I know everybody's just about as mellow and having about as good time as we are, but later on in the night, we're going to get crazy. We'd like to thank our friends tonight, by the way, who helped us out quite a bit. Was very nice about it and good to work with. And we'll do it again. Channel 42 from Charlotte, give them a hand. Give them a hand.
If I describe Bill in one word, it will be jovial.
Yeah.
He was always light and jokey, serious when he had to be, but that wasn't all that often. And he was just a pleasure to be around.
And his spirit of wanting to try things, like Kim mentioned, rubbed off on all of us. You know, we did things technically that we probably weren't capable of doing or weren't supposed to be doing, or certainly our managers frequently didn't know we were doing. Like when the George Hatcher show aired, WROQ Radio wanted to simulcast the audio in stereo. And Mike and I came up with a harebrained scheme that worked to get stereo audio over to WROQ that was in sync, you know, with our video that was airing back at the station. Nobody that worked at the station knew we were doing that. You know, we were just.
So that was live.
It wasn't live. No, it was taped.
Oh,
yeah.
It was taped, but when it aired, you guys were able to simulcast.
Well, we were able to do a simulcast.
You could listen
when
it aired.
So
When
you
it
could
aired,
you could listen to the audio on WROQ and watch it.
Which is
because this was before stereo audio and television.
which
But
is almost near impossible to do, but you guys did it.
Welcome to the second episode in our two-part series on the public television series After Dark and the Charlotte music scene in the late 1970s through mid-1980s. You just heard photographer, writer, and music producer Daniel Costin, who also gets co-production credit for these episodes. Preceded by After Dark production engineer Roger Adams, cameraman Kim Cook, and audio engineer Mike Rickard, speaking about the executive producer and creator of After Dark, the late Bill Barnes, as well as the band you're hearing now, the George Hatcher Band, with a live version of their song Black Moon Rising on their 1977 album Talkin' Turkey. The George Hatcher Band is one of many musical discoveries that I made in the course of making these episodes. George Hatcher was born in Bennettsville, South Carolina, beginning his musical career in Asheville, North Carolina, but he went to England in 1975, where he played first in the band called Stark Naked and the Car Thieves, with drummer Stuart Copeland of Police fame, and went on to form his own band and make 3 records with Universal, joined by guest artists like Huey Lewis, who played harmonica on their sophomore album Talkin' Turkey. They also got on the bill at the Reading Rock Festival in 1977 and toured in support of artists like Thin Lizzy, Ted Nugent, and AC/DC. By 1980, his band split, and he came back to North Carolina to reform the George Hatcher Band, which played this date at Main Street Music Hall in Morganton, North Carolina on August 16, 1981, and which was captured on video by the WTVI crew for After Dark. There is a YouTube video of this performance you can view as well, and it's linked in the show notes. Coming up, we hear from members of Charlotte bands The Sponge Tones and Sugar Creek, as well as the WTVI crew and Daniel Costin, as we take a trip in the Wayback Machine to a time ripe with ambition for the music scene, television production, and Charlotte itself. That, as well as plenty more music featured on the After Dark series. I'm your host, Joe Kendrick, welcoming you to the conclusion of our series on WTVI's After Dark, here on Southern Songs and Stories.
from the start that my heart never stood a chance. Girl, you know you took everything you could take away. Took my soul and you ran away. Lord, there was some black moonlight that day. So now I'm alone. You know the doctor said let it run, let it run. Yeah, I'm coming to see you, baby. It looks like a black moon in the sky. Wind's blowing wild. Like it was a black moon rising, baby. So then I was born. You know the doctor said let it run, let it run. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Southern Songs and Stories is a podcast series with over 150 episodes, profiling artists ranging from Americana to blues and bluegrass, and from rock to rap. From history to hits, and from culture to creativity, you'll find a wide array of subjects, substance, and standpoints. And always, the music that binds it together. You can follow Southern Songs and Stories wherever you find podcasts, with more articles, photos, and videos at southernsongsandstories.com. And you can engage with us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Substack, and on YouTube at Joe Kendrick NC.
Well, take me through a production day where you guys, was the idea you go and, Charlotte or elsewhere, where you try to leave at a certain point, leave the station at a certain point, set up, tear down? What was a production day like for you guys?
Well, back in those days, equipment was huge. Cables were huge. It took a lot. We had a big remote truck, which was what was that thing?
It was a
GMC motorhome.
GM Transmode
GM.
motorhome,
75 or something.
something like that.
Old motorhome that was turned into a TV production facility. And we had an old blue Dodge van. We would load up all the cameras and cases and gear. Mike's audio stuff, we'd roll up cables and everything, put it in the truck and follow each other wherever we were going. But it seemed like, I don't know, around noon we'd get there to maybe have lunch and set up so we could then have dinner, and then at 8 o'clock at night the bands would start.
So we didn't have studio cameras and remote cameras. We used the studio cameras in the remote truck. So not only did you have the big studio cameras that you had to take down, each camera had an equipment rack that had to go with it that had to be rolled into the remote truck. So usually switching the facility from studio to remote was a several-hour process. So counting that part, we would either start the day before or early in the morning. And then, I think we usually tried to roll out early afternoon and arrive on scene around 2 o'clock, probably at most venues, 1 or 2, for lighting, setting up the remote truck, pulling cables, hooking up AC power. We didn't have a generator, so the truck had to have power. And then break for dinner, come back for a rehearsal with the band or a sound check, right?
Forgive me, but I'm going to go all gear freak on you for a minute as we look back at this era's technology. The cameras WTVI used were IVC 7000 models, 3 of them, and they weighed about 70 pounds each, just the cameras themselves, without the pedestals. The WTVI crew also used an RCA TK76 portable camera, which weighed 19 pounds by itself, not counting all the cables and gear necessary to walk around with it, which totaled around 60 pounds from what these fellas told me. The portable camera cost $76,000 when it went on the market in 1976. The IVC studio camera models were around 80 grand apiece. From what I can tell, the remote truck, that whale of a GMC, was probably around 30 or 40 grand when it was new. And that's not including any of the other equipment inside the truck. Now, your smartphone can surely outperform everything the studio cameras did for a fraction of the cost, but a comparable motorhome that is new could easily run you 2 IVC 7000s. Everything that was state-of-the-art was incredibly dear back in the day, but you could get a 25-cent draft beer at the Sugar Creek show. Speaking of Sugar Creek, here's founding member and keyboardist Rick Lee.
The band actually started in 71 right here in this town, and Sugar Creek kind of adopted its name from the creek that flows real close to us here. And it was the reason we chose Sugar Creek was because it was they were having a lot of sewage problems back then. The sewage was going into Sugar Creek. It was in the newspaper every day, so we thought it would be funny. We could get some free advertisement.
Can we talk about Charlotte a little bit, about the music scene in Charlotte in that era, late 70s, early to mid 80s?
It was great. It was so great. I couldn't tell you now because I'm just not really around Charlotte a lot anymore, but lots of good musicians, and there was a lot of different genres. You had your jazz players, and we had a lot of the jazz horn players in the early Sugar Creek in the 70s. There was a big music scene going on with that, and of course Bill Hanna was largely responsible. Bill was a school teacher, and he played jazz on the side, and he'd play all the little clubs and bars around here. And then you had your rock and rollers coming into town, and it was cool with that too. But it was two separate things. And two, there's a bar on every corner now. We didn't have liquor by the drink back then, or a restaurant on every corner. So you didn't have a million places that bands were playing. There was a few. A bar could put up a sign back then that said live music, and there'd be a crowd of people. No matter who it was. It was just a great time to grow up.
Now you've got your jacket. It's a smart-looking jacket. It's got Carolina Beach Music Hall of Fame. Too Much Sylvia. Yeah. There, you're members of the Carolina Beach Music Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were inducted back in 2019, and since then, Eddie, our bass player, has been inducted individually as well as I. So,
great.
Quite an honor.
From what I've read, I remember learning how to shag.
Oh yeah,
that was a big deal back when I was a young pup, and reading about it, I was fascinated to learn that it was not as much a style of music as it was a social phenomenon. So I think, if I'm getting it right, you can correct me, that it really was birthed out of how segregation mostly didn't allow white kids to go see black music. Except when they went to the beach, they could sneak off and do whatever they wanted. And this is a lot of the beginnings of beach music, was intermingling of the races and the cultures and glomming on to an R&B kind of style of music, soul style of music that was more or less there already, but the social phenomenon of beach music was born out of that. Am I close?
You're 100%. I got in on the tail end of it in the late 60s, and actually the last song that Too Much Sylvia had out, it's called A Jukebox Playing 45s. It alludes to all that, what we grew up with. We'd go down to the beach, down to Ocean Drive, and that's where it was, and there was a jukebox out there on the patio, and you'd hear these songs on the jukebox, but you'd never heard them on the radio because they wouldn't play the cool black stuff on the radio back then. Yeah, you had the Temptations and the Supremes and all that, but we were talking about the Willie T's and the Clovers and the Coasters and all those cool bands. Billy Stewart, that was a really good music to grow up with. A lot of good soul music that all the white kids loved.
Did you know Clyde McPhatter?
I met him one time. Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some big names here from the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in Sugar Creek, the way it was in the 70s, after those black artists had their little run in the 60s, they would come back around the South and they would go to bars and play the bars, but they didn't bring a band. So the bars would book a band like Sugar Creek to come in there and get there 30 minutes early and go over 3 or 4 songs and play their hits behind them, and it was pretty fun.
Oh, I bet you that was so. Who did you back?
Many times we backed Ben E. King, who did Stand By Me. He was with the Drifters. We did the Clovers a couple of times, and of course the Drifters. I think we did the Drifters twice down at the beach. There's one. Oh yeah, I should tell you, Jackie Wilson. We wound up getting on a tour with Jackie. We played with him for 6 weeks, and man, you talk about an experience and a learning experience. That guy was the real thing.
So this was what, 1970s? Or?
This would have been, we did Jackie in 73 or 74. And I got to tell you this is very personal. I was a kid, and we had all these good musicians in the band that we had hired to play with us to do the tour. I wasn't very good. Not that I'm good now, but I wasn't very good back then. We go out to Dallas, Texas, and Jackie's music director was the bass player. His name was Bill Robinson. Played a 6-string bass. Actually played on Tyrone Davis's "Turn Back the Hands of Time." But he was a music director. And we've been out there for about 2 weeks, and Jackie looks over at me and says, "Take a solo, Rick." And Bill Robinson, the bass player, saying, no, Jackie, you don't want Rick taking a solo." And Jackie looked at Bill, and he looked at me. He said, "I said take a solo." The club's packed. I'm going, well, I got my Hammond organ out here and a Leslie. So I started playing, turned the Leslie up, and got through the first verse. Jackie said, "Do it again." So he gave me a 2-verse solo. Everybody in the club started clapping, and let me tell you, that gave me more confidence than anything in the world. Jackie gave me that opportunity.
We're gonna rock and roll you with a little bit of Sugar Creek music. Right now, the first song on the first side of our new album, Lost in a Photograph.
Speaking of soul and R&B, here's a bit of the Voltage Brothers from their After Dark taping at P.B. Scott's in Charlotte on July 23, 1983. The Voltage Brothers began making music in 1969, and they're still going strong. Coincidentally, they played a date in Charlotte at Middle C the same week this podcast was published.
Thank you. Are you having a good time tonight? Oh, thank you. We're having a good time up here too. We hope that you're having as good a time as we are up here. We like to do some different music for you now. The next song was written with everybody here in mind. In fact, all the places that we've ever played has a little bit to do with this next song. Needless to say, we wrote it, and We'd like to send it out to all of you, okay? Want to dedicate it to you, and we hope you accept it with love from us.
He works the night shift while visions of gold rush through his hair. He drives a forklift for the 20 years he gets to watch and stare. He dreams of romance, places he's never seen, never been. And he's just dying to live, dying to live. It's not too late to make a change. She stands on corners of Hollywood, hopeful, goes sad. She's somebody's daughter. She yearns for the love that she never had. She leaves the road out every night of every day. I believe she's dying to live, dying to live. It's not too late to make a change. I believe she's dying to live, dying to live. It's not too late to make a change. Can you change horses in the middle of a stream? You got the answer. Be the person of your dream. I'll tell you, time will show the way to go. You'll be fighting to live, fighting to live. It's not too late to make a change.
So this is Daniel Costin. I was approached by Bill Barnes with the recordings for After Dark from 1980 to 1984. And when immediately I was thinking, is there any Spongetones recordings? Because I'm a fan of you guys ever since I moved to Charlotte in 1983. And while I might have seen you on TV during that time, I did not see you live until the mid-90s. So literally going through the list of shows at After Dark, the second thing I see is Spongetones. July 1981. It's like, oh, okay, now it's on. What I love about this recording is I think there's, for a lot of bands, there is a moment where you're on the ascent and you're in that 15 minutes or whatever it is. You're in it and you're enjoying it and you know that people are digging this. The crowd at PB Scott's is just digging you guys, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they're enjoying the covers. They're enjoying your originals, which you debuted at this show.
Oh, that's
one of the
right,
first
yeah.
times you
Yeah.
played your first two original songs. And for me, this show is a beautiful moment of a band that obviously I'm still listening to 45 years later. But you can hear what made you guys so good and made you the right band at the right time for so many people during that period.
Okay, well, you're bringing back memories now, and I do remember Joe and I talked about PB Scott's and what a wonderful place it was to play, our favorite place, actually, because we were surrounded on 3 levels by an audience, and it was very intimate. I remember they were filming from up there, and then I remember they interviewed us. We were on the stage or on the floor, and we had to look up at these blinding lights. I remember that, and so they were asking us questions, and we were squinting like is anybody there kind of thing. So I do remember that part of it. But PB Scott's was one of those places where we really felt at home, and really they came there for one purpose only, to hear a band, and we were that band, and we gave back, So that it was a wonderful time, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's I was, yeah. It was. When you talk about it like that, all of a sudden some of the stuff comes back. The gig and everything. I don't, I've heard the music that you said, and it's quite wonderful. I thought we're well rehearsed in our prime, young men, and it's just nice to hear that energy coming off the stage. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I agree with everything he said. It was a
God, we would drive up there from Charlotte. At the time, we had day gigs at a music store, and we also had roadies who set things up. So we'd drive up there after work if we had to, and sometimes drove home that after the gig to to go to work or whatever. But it's not that far.
Yeah.
It takes even less time to get there now, but
Yeah.
I don't know what
But
it took.
it'd be like on a Wednesday, and we'd pull in there, and these college students from Boone would be lined up to get in on a Wednesday. I love that they weren't serving. Blowing Rock was the only place that they could get alcohol, and you couldn't do it in Boone, so they made that long, twisty road to get up to PB Scott's to hear good bands. Not just us at PB Scott's, but wonderful bands. And that was their entertainment. That was pretty much all there was to do. And boy, did they gave back. These kids did. They really did. I mean, they were there for one reason only: just play, entertain us, give us something to like. And so we rose to that occasion. Yeah, I must say that. Like I said, that was my personal favorite place to play. I think the Double Door also locally. But I mean, as far as traveling, it was just a wonderful geodesic dome with all these levels. I loved it. Yeah. So I have great memories of that.
This next song we like to do was written by the gentleman on my right and done by us. And it goes with a blood wine. And it goes like this.
You better take it easy if you want it to last long. Watch out! Don't be in a hurry, got a little get out all wrong. If you use your heart instead of your mind, you know someday you will find yourself too in back in trouble. You better learn a thing or two. Slow down! You don't want to back down, you gotta watch out! Don't make a mistake that we cannot undo. If you use your heart instead of your mind, you know someday you will find yourself too in that trouble. You better learn a thing or two. We met at a party, it wasn't already up. You seem so out of place there.
That's a bit of the Sponge Tones' Pat Walters song, Better Take It Easy, a song on their 1982 album, Beat Music. Here, it was recorded for After Dark at PB Scott's in Blowing Rock, North Carolina on July 15, 1981. That was the venue's first location, and it went on to open a Charlotte location as well. Both were settings for After Dark tapings. Super Grit Cowboy Band, which you'll hear later in the episode, are joined by the Fabulous Knobs, the Voltage Brothers, Snow, and the band Pedestrians in After Dark performances from either location. Like Steve Stokel and Pat Walters of the Sponge Tones told us, it was an impressive venue, and the WTVI crew reiterated that. The history of PB Scott's is another high water mark for Western North Carolina's music scene, and you can watch a YouTube video about that story, which is linked in the show notes. Randy Kelly was the driving force behind their remarkable run, and even though both locations are long gone, you can still find him doing good work in the music community as a stage manager for the Watson Stage at Merlefest, late every April in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. If you meet Randy, you probably won't forget him. Bonnie Raitt didn't. When she played Merlefest in 2025 and reconnected with Randy, she had no trouble recalling one of her shows at PB Scott's back in the 1970s. Another band that performed at PB Scott's Blowing Rock location was Super Grit Cowboy Band, a North Carolina band that formed in 1974. They released 4 albums and many singles and made the country charts a number of times in the early 80s. Notably, pedal steel player Clyde Maddox was inducted into the North Carolina Music Hall of Fame in 2025.
This is our newest single record out. It just came out last week, and we got word today that it made the top 100. That makes us feel real good. And well, maybe y'all have heard this on the radio a few times, or maybe you'll be hearing it in the days and weeks to come. Because she is the woman that brings out the man in me.
It's 5:15, and she'll soon arrive at my door. It's been a long time since her lips touched mine and made me cry out for more. She is the woman who gives her love so free. She is the woman who brings out the man in me. She don't ask for things like big diamond rings. She'd rather I'd sing her a song. She'd rather be in the country with me than the biggest mansion in town. She's no perfect woman, I'm no perfect man. It's plain to see. She is the woman who brings out the man in me. Oh, she is the woman who brings out the man in me.
I think I'm half deaf at my old age because of After Dark. Bill always put me on handheld camera, and the speaker was right about there. I can remember doing Federal Brothers with the saxophone player Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
Bill yelling, "Get the bell, get the bell." He had a solo.
Mm-hmm.
And I could barely hear Bill. I said, "What's he talking about?" I'm looking around. "Get the bell, get the bell." And finally, the saxophone. I think I got into some time. But usually if I saw somebody doing the solo or something, I just freelanced because I couldn't hear him half the time.
That was Johnny Dollar's Beach Club.
Yeah.
Where we did the Federal Bureau. Yeah.
One thing for me, like going over this list, and we were talking about this with Pat and Steve earlier, was that sadly all these venues are now gone. I don't believe any of these have survived. But thankfully we have these entire recordings to tell us what the band and the venues sounded like. I mean, that's 45 years is not a long time, but in venue, terms, that's centuries. So, but it's kind of amazing that
There is still a Johnny Dollars on South Tryon.
Oh, wow.
But it's not the same Johnny Dollars at all.
Okay.
It's just like a bar, I think.
Said I can't for the life of me figure you out, yeah. Between the devil and the deep blue sea, you be there, don't get well, I can't figure you out. Wonder why you treat me so bad. Why you wanna put me down when I just might be the best man you ever had. just wouldn't listen. So you told me anyway, so I would know what I've been missing. Can't figure you out. Honey, why you treat me so bad? Why you wanna put me down when I just might be the best man you ever had?
From Johnny Dollar's Beach Club in Charlotte, North Carolina, this is the Federal Bureau of Rock and Roll, recorded for After Dark on August 7, 1982. Brothers Lenny and Michael Federal were the core of the group, and today you can find Lenny Federal playing Fridays in the Lenny Federal Band at the Comet Bar and Grill in Charlotte. We are coming to the end of our trip back in time to the Queen City in western North Carolina for this episode of Southern Songs and Stories, but there's a lot more history that you can explore. A great resource which I have dipped into for photos especially, but where you can also access a lot of the After Dark performances on audio, is the Central Piedmont Community College online collection of WTVI archives, also linked in our show notes. Thanks for being here. We encourage you to follow this series wherever you listen to podcasts and are especially grateful for top ratings and your reviews. You can follow this series on social media at South Stories on Instagram, at Southern Songs and Stories on Facebook, and you can view these episodes and a lot more on my YouTube channel at the handle Joe Kendrick NC. We can also send you newsletters via Substack, where you can read the scripts of these podcasts and get updates on what we are doing and planning in our quest to explore and celebrate the unfolding history and culture of music rooted in the American South, and going beyond to the styles and artists that it inspired and informed. Big thanks to Daniel Costin for sharing the audio of After Dark performances and for being a key part of this two-part series. It would not have happened without his guidance and support. Daniel has been a previous guest on this podcast several times, and an easy way to find those episodes is by using the search bar at southernsongsandstories.com. I'm your host and producer, Joe Kendrick, and this is Southern Songs and Stories, the music of the South and the artists who make it.
Oftentimes, a lot of video tapes at WTVI didn't get kept because the room in which they were stored was small. And back in those days, the tapes were 2 inches wide. I have a photograph at the house of us peeling the videotape off of the reels in that room and start dragging it out to the dumpster. There was, I'm gonna estimate there were at least 6 men, maybe 7, Joel Whitaker and a couple of other people, and we're pulling this huge 3-foot diameter snake of videotape from the building all the way out to the dumpster and started stuffing it in the dumpster. I actually have a picture of me standing in the dumpster trying to pack it down. But it was just amazing. That was the only way that they could get rid of it. They didn't want to take it outside and unreel it there, even though we suggested that. But Who was the lady that ran that department? Blonde-headed. I can't remember.
Which department?
I'm sorry?
What?
That ran that videotape department, kept it organized, and was on the back side of the building. Doesn't matter. But I ran across that photograph the other day and I was looking at it and I thought, oh my God, I forgot we had done that.
And then we they turned around and sold the aluminum hubs and reels just for the scrap aluminum value. And we had to take the flanges off the reels because they were steel. And it was less per pound if it's a mixed metal instead of pure aluminum. So we were up there taking the 6 screws out of both sides of these big 2-inch reels of tape